Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we head into Game 4, just right after that hell crazy interesting game that we had during Game 3 between Gigabyte Marines and Rampage. But of course, for anything else, we are going to be your casters for Rift Rivals 2017. Arctic at Yo Service Fam, and of course with me is Atlas.
Man, that last game was confusing, especially for Rampage. Like, once they saw the lane swap, they would have been like, what is this? Is this 2014? There was
exactly.
But then again, there was no LJL server back in 2014. So maybe that could actually contribute to their confusion. Because when the Japan server came up, once LJL was formed, they had no history of like lane swaps or anything. So that might have played into it. So it's very interesting. Of course, once we look at actually, this is going to be the 4th game of a best of 5. If GAM wins this once again against Rampage, it is going to be Ascension Gaming versus Detonation Focus Me. And of course, still, LJL still at match point. Rampage, if they recover from that, and they are very adaptable. Rampage is very adaptable. If Gigabyte Marines tries any more of that shenanigans, I'm pretty sure Rampage can respond to that in kind very quickly.
Yeah, I'm actually still, regardless, interested in seeing whether or not we're going to be something interesting again from Gigabyte Marines. But yeah, of course, overall, this will be determined as we are technically still at match point. Just one more win needed by LJL in order to become the first ever Rift Rivals champion.
GPL really with their backs to the wall here, and GAM really doing all they can to hard carry this region so far. No matter how much effort that all of us put in here, seems like it's still very difficult. Just LJL, as we discussed today and in the actually preceding days of this finals, that LJL has shown so much growth and development ever since it was formed, and it's so impressive. Like, I don't even, it doesn't really bother me too much if GPL loses to LJL, because this amount of growth and development in such a short time definitely needs some commendation.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I'd say, well-deserved, because like we've been pegging ever since day one, we could probably distinguish Gigabyte Marines as the best team in Rift Rivals right now, probably inarguably. But then again, if we're going to talk about the region as a whole,
as a whole region,
it's crazy. You know, LJL definitely has stepped up their game ever since from the first time we saw them debut. When they ever got their, even ever since they got their server technically. So
yeah, but it's also like kudos to GAM. Like we heard in the interview that they've been performing this well, but that's all despite all these challenges that the team management faces, like the gaming house, the training, the scrims, all of that. Actually, all those difficulties culminate into GAM being so honed in terms of the mental state as well as the mechanics and the macro. So really impressive so far, coming from GAM all the way from GPL Spring all the way here to Rift Rivals 2017. It's very interesting to see how all of them play.
Yeah, but there we go. We have a little bit of a glimpse as to what's happening right now. If I'm not mistaken, this is in Vietnam. So here we go. Looks like a lot. You could kind of feel the tension.
GAM has the home court advantage technically.
Yeah, maybe that kind of plays I could say a small part.
Yeah, it's definitely a small part. I mean, after all, we are playing an online video game, so the home court advantage doesn't really play into that much. But of course, GAM, they really have their honor on the line here as well. They definitely are the stalwart defender of GPL in this Rift Rivals. We're seeing how all that plays out. A few of our players here taking a few sips of their drinks, refreshing before the game starts.
Yeah.
And recovering after that loss, like the debilitating loss definitely against GAM, because that was super unexpected. Like, I was watching the game, it's like, wait, is that a lane swap? Is that a lane swap? Am I in the right year?
Like, did I just kind of go for a time travel or something?
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because GPL was the first region to go for the lane swap. In 2014, around that year, it was TPA, Taipei Assassins, who pulled off the very first lane swap in professional play, I believe. And they pulled it off very, very nicely. And here, it seems like Gigabyte Marines used it to their advantage against Rampage. We'll see, though, what strategies they'll pull out here in their second game against Rampage for the 4th game of this regional best of 5.
Yes, and there we go, heading into the pick and ban right now. Looking at the bans for the first phase, looks like Gigabyte Marines, you know, clearly addressing the fact that, like you mentioned, the same shenanigans from Game 1 might not be able to work in Game 2, so they will be banning out the Gallios. also as well, technically being on the blue side definitely plays a factor in my opinion. That probably not exactly the best idea to go for a lane swap in this case, but regardless, looks like Noe gonna have some massive respect coming in from the Rampage squad
Yeah,
as they ban out.
Tristana
Yeah, exactly.
and Levy's Zac. It's also a very good ban in general to ban out the Zac. So much disruption that come from that. Gigabyte Marines does not want to deal with Ramone's Galio. It was definitely very disruptive earlier. Even though Rampage lost that game, there were so many times where Ramune was such a good frontliner, very good at disruption, that they just have to, Gigabyte Marines just has to ban it out for this game. Actually banning out Tussle's Elise as well, denying so much early game advantages, early game pressure from that Rampage jungler. And seems like Rek'Sai will be the lockout against Levy.
Yeah, very interested in seeing as we head into the picks right now what exactly Gigabyte Marines might be doing as far as their draft for this fourth game. Again, this is a very crucial game as we are currently in match point still in favor of LJL. Just one more win for the Japanese squad and they'll be considered our champions. But it looks like the Thresh actually going to be locked in for Saya of the Gigabyte Marines.
Definitely going to be very, very interesting. This Thresh, so much disruption, so much peel, and we saw how Noe was a crucial factor in GAM's win earlier. And having that Thresh here definitely might signal that, okay, we're here to really peel for our AD carry, but it's also a very solid, balanced support. So not a lot of information. Very good first pick from GAM here, I believe. Having a very safe, non-indicative support really puts Rampage on their toes. What kind of composition are they going for this time?
Exactly, and looks like, again, this is what we've been talking about with Amplifier here. Yutori Moyasi gonna stick to this Varus here, clearly sticking to what he knows. So again, we'll just have to see if this translates, because from what I've seen from Gigabyte Marines, they really know how to deal with Yutori Moyasi not reaching his optimal levels, or even if they transition into the mid game earlier, Yutori Moyasi wasn't really able to capitalize. Well, generally just Rampage in general wasn't able to capitalize on what advantages that they had as far as their spikes. So looks like the Gragas is going to be locked in for Tussle.
The Varus too for Yutori Moyasi. So there's a lot of utility already for Rampage. They have the Chains of Corruption, they have the general range of that Varus with a poke, with a piercing arrow, as well as the sheer almost unavoidable damage. A little bit of a close-up to the face here, one of Gigabyte Marines players. Very serious. They're taking this draft very seriously. You can see them communicating here. You can see how Rampage picks up the Orianna for Ramune here. So no tank mid laner for Rampage. As for Gigabyte Marines, yeah, it seems like they're going for a very protective composition here. A little bit, just by picking the Thresh and the Caitlyn, there's already that signal that, okay, we want to keep Noe alive once again. And here, the pressure that Levy will put out on that Lee Sin, he has so much proficiency on that Blind Monk that I'm quite scared for Rampage for this game too between these two teams. But we'll see, because Tussle already also has a lot of tools against that Lee Sin on that Gragas, so it's very possible that Tussle can just survive through the early game and make Levy super irrelevant in the game by just out pressuring him.
I love the fact that Rampage is going to be banning out this Talia from Optimus, because it might not really have seen as much from Optimus during game 1 with this Talia, but I'd say that if you're going to put a textbook definition as to how you want to use Talia defensively, you should watch how Optimus played that out, because really denying a lot of Rampage the potential to, again, contest objectives, or not even just contest objectives, but take objectives themselves. So really efficiently played.
Reverse Wall is so versatile in how you use it, that, and having it on someone like Optimus, who is very good in the mid lane, definitely something that they want to ban out. The Corki as well, because Optimus, if he goes on a Corki, might actually be a huge threat. As for Gigabyte Marines, they know the threat that Dara can put out. So that's going to be the Lulu and the Rakan locked away from Rampage. So now it's going to be the Braum lock-in actually for Gigabyte Marines. Lots of defensive posturing for Rampage for this. Lots of utility, lots of defensiveness. So it's going to be Yutori Moyasi and Ramune putting out a lot of utility as well as their damage. So it's a good mix here for Rampage. As for Gigabyte Marines, picking up the Renekton, definitely a lot of aggressive stancing here with that Crocodile in the top lane. We'll see who he will death roll, because Rampage is saving their top lane for last. Might even go for a counter pick against a Renekton.
Yeah, I was actually potentially expecting that it would have been Rampage themselves that would take the Renekton, but I'm actually I like the fact that Gigabyte Marines took the Renekton for themselves, because if you're gonna think about what champions in the top lane would efficiently complement a Braum, Renekton is one of those champions that kind of comes into mind right away because of the kit wearing.
There's the natural synergy
exactly.
of the Ruthless Predator with the concussive blows, as well as the general good front line. Having Gragas, Renekton, and Braum in the front line means that Ramuna and Yotori Moyasi will be having such a field day in terms of staying alive and being such a good DPS. Seems like Camille will be an alternative here for Rampage. As for Gigabyte Marines, they lock in the Syndra for Optimus. It's going to be very scary there. Lots of ball throwing there in the mid lane between the Syndra and this Orianna. We'll be seeing how this all plays out.
Yeah, this is definitely, I'm estimating a very different tempo in this game in comparison to what Gigabyte Marines kind of exhibited during Game 3. So, especially, I feel like it's definitely a lot of pressure on Levy to really perform, make sure that Optimus scales pretty well towards the later parts of the game, because if Optimus gets sets behind, gets shut down by Rampage earlier on, then this might be a similar feat with Uneski during Game 1, where Exo said because he was so behind on the Zinder 0-3, wasn't able to really contribute towards what would have been the optimal spike for Uneski.
Of course, after our coaches get their handshakes out, we'll be readying for the fight very, very soon. This is still LJL, the LOL Japan League at match point. It's going to be very risky for GPL to make any mistakes, and GAM, there's a lot of pressure on their shoulders. There's a lot of weight they're carrying right now.
The music that we're kind of hearing right now really dictates the mood for both teams here.
It's very intense.
Indeed.
Like after all of that hype, hip-hop, and that we see during the breaks, we're going here for some dramatic music, and that really sets the tone here that no more games. Yeah, and then GAM's going to change what you call rage. It's definitely going to be just a huge fight here for this fourth game.
Indeed, man, I'm just really raring to see all this action happening and unfold. Of course, from all of you that are watching, once again, this is the battle for supremacy here in Rift Rivals. The chance at glory to prove that your region is potentially one of the best of the best.
Definitely. Here within these...
And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be yet another match point game between, once again, this will be Gigabyte Marines of the Garena Premier League versus Rampage of the LOL Japan League. We'll just have to see once again if LJL can finally close out the series to grant LJL the glory of being the best region amongst the three, or will Gigabyte Marines potentially pass on the baton to Ascension Gaming for a Game 5?
It's going to be very, very risky here. This might be a few moves coming from GAM to really invade, put down some vision onto LJL, to our RPG's jungle here. Rampage is going to be on their toes. Have to know where the wards were so they can actually just play around that vision. Seems like blue buff side will be the vision where GAM has it.
That's actually great information, Gigabyte Marines. For Gigabyte Marines early on, right off the bat, because like I've been saying, I'm kind of expecting Levy to really pop off to support the rest of Gigabyte Marines across their lanes to make sure that they transition fairly well towards the mid game, where I feel like they'll really be able to get things popping, especially for this bot lane. I feel like there's a lot of potential for Levy to really make plays for both Noe and with Saya on this thresh, especially wherein there's a lot more creativity that could be done to get a shutdown onto Yutori, Moyasi, and Dara respectively.
Plus, I really love how they're playing this. GAM really puts a lot of attention to Levy's leash, so he gets a very fast clear compared to Tussle. So now he's in more of a position to actually rotate and get those aggressive plays coming from this Levy that everyone knows about.
And the interesting here is that Gigabyte Marines knows where Tussle is right now. They have a very rough idea as to what pathing he'll go for because of that offensive ward towards the bot side on the blue side, on the blue buff of Rampage. So again, this will actually give Gigabyte Marines a lot more preemptive room to breathe, especially for this bot lane here, because they know the pathing. They kind of have a rough idea of where Tussle may be on this map within these first few minutes of the game.
Definitely. So they can actually play around this where Tussle is. So that means that Archie there in the top lane will have a little bit of an easier time pushing in Evie here. It seems like Levy might actually opt for a gank here, going for the Skull Crab just for a little bit more security. Seems like he will just be going for his own blue buff.
Yeah, it looks like Evie himself kind of holding back a bit, because if you look at CS difference, slowly tilting towards Archie. Archie really doing a great job at making sure this lane is controlled to kind of deny Evie any form of solid CS in comparison to what Archie's demonstrating right now.
Definitely. It is quite hard for his Camille early game against a Renekton. He does have the adaptive defenses against the physical damage of Archie, but it's still going to be a lot of sustain on Archie's side. Even with the tactical sweep of a form of sustain on that Camille, the Call to Me coming from the Renekton is much more consistent and reliable.
And look at this, 21-12 though. But though I feel like that will be remedied by.
Oh, Levy might be going for something here. I don't think Ramune has any idea. Gets stunned, has to burn the cleanse. I think that's enough for this GAM team.
Yeah, that's really great pressure onto Ramune though. And regardless of that fact, you know, definitely gives a lot more room for Optimus. Again, this is a Cinder that we're talking about. Once Optimus has...
Oh man, Archie goes for it. Man, that is deceptive because that Archie, he started that fight lower health. It seems like Levy might go for the cleanup here. Oh man, he's nowhere near his third. Has to hook shot to it probably. Seems like Evie really keeping his cool, but here comes Tussle actually to help out his teammate. That is going to be Levy under duress now. Archie cannot actually go to him. He might go for the safeguard onto his ward, and now he's much closer to Archie, but will Tussle be able to... Actually, it's a weird flash coming from Archie, but that is still going to be first blood going to Tussle, and now I think Archie pays for that flash with his life, giving it to Evie.
A little bit of a misplay coming in from both the jungler and the top laner of Gigabyte Marines, and regardless, that was pretty awkward indeed. I mean,
yeah.
And the tricky part there was that I don't think that they were anticipating Tussle to be that near towards that side of the map. So regardless, that was the mission accomplished for Rampage. A really great start. This is what I've been talking about right here. If Gigabyte Marines doesn't really kick things off towards the earlier side with this competition
dear, that is an early Tiamat for Evie. That's going to put Archie so behind there in terms of the wave clear and the damage when they get into these trades.
And if you're going to think about it, it was actually Archie pushing out quite a lot. And with this Tiamat take, I feel like Evie himself will actually have better control. But
look at that already. Evie might actually take down this Crocodile. Call Evie Crocodile Dundee here in the top lane because he just took down that big lizard.
Oh man, Archie, not exactly the best start for him at all.
Definitely not a big start. First it was a misplay of the flash, but it was Levy really just sticking around the top lane too eagerly. And I like how Evie really kept his cool there. Here comes Levy trying to actually mitigate the losses there in top lane by helping out Optimus here in the mid lane, but that's a lot of health lost from that. Seems like Evie might actually go for some help here in the mid lane. Hook shot is available for the stun. Seems like they might actually just go for some really big pressure because he knows, okay, my job there top lane is done. Let's try something here in mid lane. But there's nothing much happening, so Evie will just have to recall.
Indeed. But yeah, regardless, again, Rampage really on Gigabyte Marines' case right now, and overall, it's going to be very tricky because with this amount of pressure, it definitely sets Optimus and generally everybody on Gigabyte Marines in a position wherein they have to be a little bit more careful.
Definitely careful. They always have to err on the side of like carefulness here because definitely being too overeager, like what happened with Levy there in the top lane, because Evie really kept his cool there, did not get phased. Okay, I'm super low health because he had the adaptive defenses, so he would have been able to survive at least one volley of skills from Levy. So definitely confusing here, Evie and Levy in the same game, but this is going to be the matchup here. Because Levy did hover around the top lane for quite a long time. And
yeah, that's really going to hurt Gigabyte Marines in the long run unless they could actually make the proactive move to get back on equal ground here, because so far this is a great stepping stone for the LJL squad to just really get things going on. And if Gigabyte Marines couldn't really get back to them on equal playing field and just allow LJL to slowly build up on this, then again this might spell doom for the GPL region.
Yeah, I do think that those two kills on Evie and then him building immediately into the Tiamat, but Optimus, I think that's just going to be a little calm shockwave trade. But with Evie getting those 2 kills, I think it puts Archie out of the map. Like, he might go for the teleport play, but right now it's unavailable. But as soon as Archie gets back to this lane, Evie is in a position to actually bull him out.
And this is a position where we've actually been talking about how Archie kinda not the best performing player on Gigabyte Marines in comparison to the others. But then again, I can't really blame him for what happened earlier, because that was actually preemptive. That was actually a preemptive play by Levy. So Archie being behind right now was mostly because of that overstay in a way, that overconfidence.
Are we doing this meme, blame the jungler? Optimus might be going for something on Tussle, but Tussle is very fat, man. Being able to just resist loss of damage coming from that Optimus volley of skills. Seems like RPG after that little bit of a tussle there in the top lane. They're just going to calm down a little bit. this is only a 1.2k goal deficit between these two teams. So it's not too big. As soon as they calm down, they can recuperate and they can recover from that loss. Because that was a huge loss there in the top lane.
Yeah, more vision though. You know, information for Rampage that the blue buff hasn't been taken just yet, but looks like they will be going to take the transition will be given to Optimus. So again, this should help Optimus a little bit in the laning phase, but still, it's very much on Rampage performing right now. But I gotta hand it to the Gigabyte Marines. Again, this is technically one of the conditions where they still regardless excel in. We've seen all these scenarios wherein at the start the enemy team, in this case Rampage, would actually start off really well, but then again Gigabyte Marines will slowly build up.
Saw that last game. I don't think that Death Sand is going to be an engage because that is going to be Dara getting level 6 right after that minion died. Very dangerous to engage on someone who just got Glacial Fissure.
And if you're going to look at it, you know, lots of CC coming in from both Yutori, Mayasi, and Dara respectively, so that would have been dangerous.
Ooh, almost hitting with that Scatter the Weak onto Ramune. Would have been a pretty big chunk of damage.
Man, this is going to be... I can kind of feel the tension right now in this game. Again, this is, of course, match point.
Yeah, because right now GAM is on their backs, and now RPG really wants to get this win for their region. So right now, this game is just a rubber band, keeping the stretching out for so long after that little mishap there in the top lane. But as soon as that pressure is too much, as soon as the tension is too much, that will snap. And I think that's going to happen around this bot side, because looking at how Rampage has been positioning themselves, it's really about this bot side. They're really setting up a lot of vision here. Seems like Cloud Drake will be their pickup. They can get this pretty much for free.
Yeah, definitely. But looks like, again, with this Dragon Take, it's just Rampage really capitalizing on all the advantages that they can. And if anything, they're actually kind of playing what Gigabyte Marines usually does during their own respective games, wherein they slowly build up on lates. But
yeah,
again, it's Rampage, again, the Drake take, not to mention kills, all in their favor. CS to an extent actually working very well for them as well.
Going for something here in the bot side. And this is actually great for RPG because they can dive in this, even if it's a 4v4. If there's a teleport influence from either of the top lanes, Archie will be much less impactful than Evie teleporting because of the 2 kills deficit that happened there in the top lane.
Yeah.
So still, they were going to discontinue that gank, 4-man gank there, but still, the confidence to go for that means that they do have the factors in their favor. And because Evie is ahead by 2 kills and 1 assist, that definitely signals them, okay, we can make plays across the map without fear of the teleport being a big impactful force on us.
Without a doubt, but still 0-3, very stagnant, but then again, very telling at the same time. Rampage definitely in control of this game.
So far, seems like there might be a gank here in the top lane. Archie will have to be very, very careful. Goes for the slice and dice, but doesn't even get the dice. Dominus to just increase his health, but definitely Evie goes for the rebound there with a hook shot stun, and I think Archie's just going to fall. Not even a chance to recover his health with Call the Meek.
Oh man, Rampage really, I'd say no pun intended, but they're really on a rampage in this game. So what's interesting here is that Gigabyte Marines, they're really capitalizing on the, if you're going to look at this Gigabyte Marines as a chain here, Archie kind of the weak link, not necessarily because of him as a player, but because of how he's really exactly.
Yeah. It's just the circumstances make it difficult for him to be relevant anymore. Because once a Renekton gets 2 kills behind someone who wants to scale up, like a Camille or a Fiora or an Aurelia, that Renekton is going to have a very hard time. So that misplay by Levi there in the top lane actually punishes the rest of GAM so much because they can't make plays down their bot lane. Because even if they get a good 4v4, once the teleport happens, Archie will be really less useful than Evie will be.
Very much classic cause and effect happening to the Gigabyte Marines right now, and so far they haven't really found any windows of opportunity to make up for it. And if anything, it's only Rampage continuing to widen that lead, but I gotta hand it to them, it's still quite steady towards the 1.5k to 2k deficit.
It's not too bad because the longer the game goes, the less this 1.5k deficit matters, right? The problem is Archie is still going to scale off into nothingness, and Levi as well will descale very, very hard as a Lee Sin. So GAM has a time limit on the proactive plays they can make. They have to make something happen very, very soon unless they want to be outscaled even when they're already behind.
Exactly, and again, this is just very, very tricky for them at this point. And I don't know, Rampage just really capitalizing on what they can, and we'll just have to see. Again, Gigabyte Marines, we have seen them get back in these type of instances where their back is against the wall and the leads are technically not in their favor. It's just that so far, again, I'm looking for the proactivity from this team right now because I haven't really seen them step it up towards any part of the map, and it's just so hard because sure, they could try to make things happen towards the mid side or even towards the bot side, but again, there's still that threat. Then Evi with teleport up now.
Yeah, as well as the fact that this composition, the Caitlyn kind of wants to scale up a bit farther, and look at the itemization here for Noe. Going for the Quicksilver Sash first means that they cannot make a fight happen in the bot lane because Yutori Moyasi will have more combat stats than Noe. As for the mid lane, man, Ramune has so many tools to survive. It looks like Archie will be getting dove here. Even the Dominus, I don't think, can help him out. The Hextech Ultimatum is available for Evi. Here comes Ramune just to ensure the kill, and just clean kills there from the LJL's RPG here.
And Gigabyte Marines though trying to make an even trade though by going for the push in this bot lane, the siege, as well as Optimus trying to make things happen, because so far Archie really feeling the fame that I'd almost find him irrelevant if ever.
Definitely.
Fuller on
because it's a Renekton that's 0-3 is not something you want to see on your team, and that 0-4 even.
Man.
And that is actually such a bad spot to be in. And Archie right now, I feel so bad for him because, man, all those circumstances, technically that wasn't his fault. The 2 kills there. Definitely the flash into nothing was his fault. But everything after that is kind of just him taking everything that Rampage is throwing at him, and he has no power to actually retaliate.
And that's scary at the same time. With Archie behind, looking at Evi, 302 on this Camille, 100% kill participation. So that's going to be quite the painful.
He's building into his Triforce after the Tiamat, so he's just going to lay down the pain on anyone he sticks to. Oh, very good flash from Optimus there.
Man, that was almost very scary, because if Optimus kind of ends up with a kill, death rather himself, then that would just monumentally set Gigabyte Marines way behind. And I don't know, man. At this point, this is kind of the scenario wherein you can't really blame Gigabyte Marines. Of course, they're not necessarily immortal as well. Sure, they're probably one of the better, if not the best performing team out of all the teams in Rift Rivals. But then again, these are the type of teams that get worn out as well. That
yeah, because it's been like 4 days since Tuesday. The games aren't a lot if you count them because they're very short best of ones. But the fact that you have to play for 4 games straight and you've been preparing for this for at least a month, that has to be mentally and physically taxing on these teams, especially on Gigabyte Marines, who you can't deny has been carrying GPL in this Rift Rivals.
And in comparison to a region that's actually managed to rest it out during the previous day, you know, just kind of witnessing all the action that unfolded between both the GPL and the OPL, you know, it's definitely working in the LJL's favor right now. But then again, we couldn't just peg it on that. In general, like we have been pegging, LJL, one of the better regions, really performing above and beyond.
You can't just use fatigue as an excuse because that's not the only factor here. Levy going for something. They are under vision here. I mean, they are visible under the Scuttle Shrine, so this does signal to Rampage that, of course, they're getting the Rift Herald. So this might be a signal for Ramune to make a play here. There are a lot of times where Rift Herald was a catalyst for a huge lead in favor of a team, and one of them did involve the Orianna. So we'll see if Levy actually continues this.
Ooh,
Seems like they will. They will take that without any trade, but here comes the bot side actually. Lots of push coming from Yutori Moyasi and Dara still.
Yeah, that would have been dangerous if ever Rampage tried to go for the full-on contest, because if you're going to look at it, it's actually the bot lane duo, both Noe and Saya, kind of within the vicinity to respond if ever things do get 30, plus the fact that Tussle was still kind of far away from Ricardo to actually do any form of contesting. If anything, maybe even a steal, but still not really going to manifest into anything. So overall though, hopefully this is very reminiscent of a scenario yesterday when the Rift Herald, hopefully this could be used by the Gigabyte Marines to kind of set things back onto equal playing field, because this could be their hope and the prayer that they need to go back equal with Rampage.
Yeah, 3K is a pretty moderate-sized gold lead on the side of Rampage, and it is on an important player on Evi. On the side of GPL's Gigabyte Marines, no kills yet. The farm is pretty much even for the bot lane. Actually, Noe is ahead of Yutori Moyasi, but the biggest deficit here is in the top lane, in the jungle, and in the mid lane, respectively. There's definitely Yeah, Rampage definitely can close out this game much faster if they go for more proactive plays, but seems like Gigabyte Marine's not going for anything too risky so far, which doesn't put them in a position to actually get countered. But this might actually play to their disadvantage, because this is a composition that doesn't scale up well except for the Caitlyn.
Indeed.
So it's very dangerous for them to do this. But what choice do they have?
Exactly, not really many options left for them. Just trying to work with what they can and what advantage.
Oh, it seems like the mid lane will be their play. This is going to be falling very quickly. This is already under 50% health, so the Rift Herald will definitely just take this in one shot.
There we go. So
but they do sacrifice the Rift Herald just for that one. But this does open up the map a little bit more for Gigabyte Marine.
Yeah, hopefully this is something they could slowly build up on, because so far they got it to hand it them. With all said and done, still the gold lead isn't really as substantially big as I would have expected, because again, it's just all a matter of GAM trying to make up in areas wherein they can to just kind of compensate for the fact that Archie is way too behind. And
oh man, Cloud Drake, another one which is going to have around 900 in terms of value. It is almost a Moby Boots in terms of value, so that's around 900, maybe less because it doesn't include the actual boots itself, but still so hard for Gigabyte Marines.
Yeah, but even if you're gonna think about it, we've been talking about how taking the mid turret actually kind of opens things up for Gigabyte Marines, but the fact that having a double Cloud Drake for Rampage, it kind of gives them that way exactly that even with that advantage of Gigabyte Marine, again, I wouldn't even say an advantage, a natural take from Gigabyte Marines to take that mid lane. That opportunity to kind of extend their wingspan as far as controlling this map is pretty much moot when you have a double Cloud Drake onto Rampage where they could just easily respond and get pick-offs themselves.
But the respect for Gigabyte Marines, though, they have been surviving. And in this finals, they're kind of they're surviving in a post-apocalyptic scenario where Mineski and Ascension lose those 2 games, and now they're the ones that have to pick up the mess. So now Gigabyte Marines doing all they can, but they're doing this very calmly. They don't want to go in too eagerly, because that's what happened at the top lane earlier. That's how Evie got those 2 kills, and that's how Archie became almost irrelevant at this point. It's because they became too eager to win, and now they're going to calm down a little bit, play to their win conditions, be a little bit more calm, and they might actually win the game if they continue this. But for now, Rampage in control of this game.
Whew. 0-5. Not a single kill to Gigabyte Marines' name right now. But regardless, it doesn't really deter them in a way, because again, we always have to look at the goal difference, wherein it's not even Rampage, it's not even a really full sweep yet. Again, there's just so many ways that Gigabyte Marines can get back.
And all of this is concentrated. Oh man, that is going to be no way. Dark passaging out of there. Really clean coming from Saya.
Good save there from Thresh Lantern.
Would have been very threatening because Evie was right around the corner.
Yeah, especially with Noe, kind of the hope and the prayer that Gigabyte Marines needs to transition well towards the late game. Because as far as trying to make something happen off this early to mid, because Archie is so behind, they couldn't really capitalize on that advantage. So as much as possible, we just want to try to make sure that Noe transitions even better to make up for it.
The note is Optimus and Noe are ahead in gold. Rather, no. It's Noe ahead in gold over Yutori Muyasi. As you said, he is the hope and the prayer that Gigabyte Marines has right now. But for the rest of the lanes, seems like Gigabyte Marines is quite behind. They might be going for a play here onto Ramune.
Ooh.
Decisively going for that Unleash power onto the Orianna. Cleanse has been burned, but Levy's taking so much damage, but in the end, kicks Ramune in the face. Gets the kill, but here comes Daza and Tussle and even Yutori Muyasi closing onto GAM here, and they have no way to escape here except for Optimus and Levy. So it seems like the sacrifice will be Saya. But here comes Optimus as well as Noe. They will still go for this 3v3. Tussle is very, very low. Darius being a very good frontline for his 80 carry. Yutori Moyasu gets chunked down to half health. Evie actually kills Archie down there in the bot lane. So this does give LJL's team RPG a little bit of an advantage here with Yutori Moyasu still full health. Optimus and Noe very, very dangerously close to dying here. Will Yutori Moyasu be able to get this? He still does have the flash. It seems like they will have to give up the chase here. They have to back off because Evie is pushing that bot lane so heavily.
Yeah, definitely. And plus, and yet another kill from onto Archie. This almost puts Archie in a very awkward position where he can't really contribute as much to his team anymore. So, again, this is just Evie really popping off on this Camille with all the advantages in the world, which was established as early as the first 10 minutes of the game. And again, this is very much the problems that you encounter looking into the long run for Gigabyte Marines.
Definitely. It's very difficult for them to actually turn any of these ganks into leads, because even though they got a kill there in the top lane, they still fell apart once the rest of the team from Rampage actually came through. And that was because not just the 2 Cloud Drakes, but also the responsiveness to get there as soon as one of them dies, they go for a response. Let's break that down.
Yeah, there we go. So this is actually what happened, which eventually led to the death of Archie. A little bit morbid sounding, but regardless, Evie actually going under turret. But then again, you know, because of everything, still doesn't really go for it. But Archie himself might have actually
far too forward.
Yeah, but regardless, actually does get the cancel onto the teleport. But then again, in exchange, might have caused his own death here. So in a way, it's a good sacrifice for Archie, because had Evie continued that teleport, that would have resulted to a massacre in the top side for Gigabyte Marines.
Still though, the fact that he still died even with sacrifice, because a Renekton that wasn't behind would have been at least able to fight it off, but there Evie got a kill, got another turret, which I don't think in the end is worth for GAM. Definitely scary there. So far, GAM still on the back foot. Now 3,400 gold behind Rampage.
Oh, this is just so complicated for Gigabyte Marines at this point, because aside from the fact that they need to go head-to-head with the rest of the, let's say, from jungle towards support, these 4 in themselves are pretty solid from what we've seen. And Yutori Mayasi just really popping on this Varus, plus the fact that even, let's say, they're able to deal with this 4, there's still that huge threat in Evie that I don't think any of the members of Gigabyte Marine can deal with right now.
Yeah, and because they have such a good front line as well, in the Gragas, in the Braum, that means Evie has enough distractions to actually tactically sweep through Gigabyte Marine's front line and just go straight for no way. That's very possible, especially with the Hextech Ultimatum.
Definitely, and man, I don't know, this is really...
This is looking grim, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of weight for Gigabyte Marines at this point, but then regardless, I gotta hand it to them.
They're surviving. As I said, post-apocalyptic scenario. Dominus gets burnt here by Archie. It is going to be a cooldown gone from him in case another fight happens in the bot lane.
Yeah, a lot of control trying to be pushed here for this Baron.
Teleport is up for Archie, not for Evie, however, but there is a possibility that if Archie channels the teleport, Evie might actually just cancel. But I think Evie's just going to kill him under turret here. Man, cannot catch a break, this Archie.
I feel for him. You know, like we've been talking about him, his performance throughout Rift Rivals has been average to say the least. The fact that towards this last game might be probably his most unfortunate yet is really, well, generally, not to repeat.
Archie getting the direst treatment.
Yeah.
Has been camped, has been receiving all of these deaths from their opposing laner and the jungler.
And the funny
Definitely
thing,
sad state for this top lane, but of course, GAM still surviving. All of that gold is concentrated on Evie.
yeah, really.
So that is the caveat. If Evie is like disabled from going to the fight, GAM has a very good chance of taking the 4v4.
And overall, I mean, the thing here is that it's interesting looking at the itemization for Archie. You know, started off with the Black Cleaver, but overall, since he is falling way, way too behind, you know, resolves himself to just go for more tanky items at this point, because
Just be a good disruptor. The stun coming from the Ruthless Predator, just the huge threat of being having Dominus up, it should be enough to allow Optimus in no way to shred the front line. But it's still going to be very hard to make use of this Renekton at this point of the game. 0-6.
again, it's just so unfortunate. Gigabyte Marines performing really well during Game 3, but then again, you know, they really exhausted a well-thought-out strategy that they might have been saving for the last. But then again, when it comes to the nitty-gritty, the really head-to-heads with these compositions, with Gigabyte Marines playing a much more meta-oriented composition, then ultimately still Rampage coming up on top. That still... It's like, though, Gigabyte Marines, again, they don't want to give up this Baron to Rampage, because if Rampage gets this Baron, it's pretty much game over.
It's going to be a huge push coming from them. They have the wave clear. They have the tankiness. They have a top laner with Triforce. It's going to be very scary for Gigabyte Marines if the Baron gets taken by Rampage.
And overall, like, heavy now, that's going to be even more scary. Actually has the Guardian Angel that
dear.
if ever Rampage decides to go for these full 5v5s, I don't think it'll be anything good for GAM. If anything, probably a bloodfest in favor of Rampage.
A bloodbath indeed, because now Evie's going to be even harder just with adaptive defenses, the sustain from tactical sweep. all of that could culminate into Evie just cleaning up the entirety of Gigabyte Marines. Here comes Optimus, positioning himself very, very dangerously. Tussle might be going for him. He does have the flash into the body slam, but seems like so much restraint for this Tussle. Does not want to overcommit and throw the game.
This is probably the first time I've actually seen Gigabyte Marines in a position wherein they're not necessarily leading in terms of CS across the board here. Looking at the difference, Optimus 280 versus 314.
Oh dear, that Levy might actually go for something, but Tussle, after that Tussle, has to back off with only a sliver of health left. No longer has the body slam flash. Look at that, Evie just ignoring this crocodile here. Not even a threat. Archie has to run away. Noe needs to help his top laner out. Ace in the hole just to completely scare him away, but I don't think it's phasing Evie here at all.
Nope, not at all. If anything, it just prolonged the inevitable. But then again, he was able to save Archie though, because if that was just Archie fending for himself, that would have
been an inhibitor actually.
Yes.
Oh dear, Optimus getting a stun onto Tussle. Gets vision on him as well, but way too risky to go for this.
Gigabyte Marines.
Okay, the cleanse, the instant cleanse from Ramune. That would have been really bad for Rampage if that followed through.
You know, Gigabyte Marines really shaking up the configuration as far as who goes to who in the laning, because again, we have seen Archie alone just couldn't deal with Evie anymore. That another member of Gigabyte Marines technically needs to be within the vicinity if ever Evie goes for the offensive towards the bot side. And overall, because Gigabyte Marines is forced into a more responsive position with the threat of Evie, this actually allows much more room for Rampage to just kind of take control of this map. Not only just the map, but even towards the Baron.
Man, the Baron definitely a huge pickup here for Rampage. If they get control over this region of the map, it's going to set them up for a very good bait or a very good Baron play. Oh man, inhibitor taken by Evie. He just completely ignored Archie there. Look at his health too. Archie cannot even square up to Evie, so he has to give up the inhibitor. That's so much pressure lost by Gigabyte Marines at that bot side. And this signals Rampage to just go to the top lane. Let's pressure them hard now that their bot lane will push and shove so heavily. Baron might be the pickup. Bot lane inhibitor is the best one to take down when you want to go for a Baron play. Seems like Rampage still setting up lots of control there in that area.
And Archie, you know, as much... I don't think it's really Evie ignoring Archie. I think it's just more of Archie himself just being... Oh, no.
Look at that. He's going to fall down under turret. No way has to help him out. This might be Evie's very first death. He has a GA, but no backup. Hook shot from the Flash. The mobility of the Camille. Definitely something that allows Rampage to get this top lane. And look at that. I think they used the blast cone to get over here, so there's no vision of the Scuttle Shrine. So I think they will get this. That might be very big, though. The Shockwave does connect, but GAM gets the kill onto Dara. The Baron still gets killed by Rampage, but now they have to rotate out of there. 2 kills so far on the side of Gigabyte Marines. Levy dies, however, but now it's Rampage on the run.
Finally, we see a bit of a fuller fight coming in, and we actually have seen that Gigabyte Marines does have the potential to go head-to-head with Rampage. It's just that it might be a little in too late, because overall the advantages, the pressure coming in from Rampage is absolutely insane. With this inhibitor down, actually limits Gigabyte Marines as far as how far they can maneuver across this map with this threat of pressure pushing in from the bot side.
And now almost all of them have the Baron buff. The most important thing here is Evie still has the Baron buff.
And yeah, let's go ahead and check out what transpired here. So Optimus, I gotta say, really pulling the weight for his team regardless of being
behind. Look at all that damage.
Exactly, the damage. Really catching Rampage in a position where they're grouped together, which is why the Syndra was used to much, again, very optimal use and damage just connecting left and right. But again, this is the threat here, Evie. Luckily, this is the thing though, since Noe was able to transition well enough into the late game, still Evie needed to respect that damage output coming.
A very big threat on this Caitlyn. Lots of damage that can come if he's able to free hit. But still, the threat of this Baroned up wave means that Rampage is in a position to actually continue to push. But of course, I think Gigabyte Marines has the wave clear for this, but it is Baroned up minions. They are going to be very tanky.
Gigabyte Marines just needs to be very careful that they don't suffer any more casualties, which would cause them to lose the numbers game.
That Evie just taking down these turrets so fast, and as you said, it's going to be very difficult for Gigabyte Marines to do what they need to do to win this.
Yeah, because especially with Archie behind again, we keep on emphasizing that, but that's where things technically just got really complicated because of the threat of Evie here, continuously split pushing, getting objectives, or rather just continuing the siege left and right. And overall, you know, there is a chance for Gigabyte Marines to get back into this game. It's just that, first of all, they have to wait out for this Baron to expire. Second off, they need to find the right fight wherein they could just allow Noe and Optimus to deal the optimal damage that they can to take down Rampage. Because we have seen just how much, even though Evie is ahead, technically still leaning towards more damage-oriented items. So that could be the whole thing.
Oh man, Evie might be going for a 2v1 here. Actually gets kicked away out of fear. Seems like Evie still going for that top lane push, and as you said, they have to find a good team fight, and that good team fight has to be one where Evie is absent. Because that threat of a 6-0 Camille is too much to actually go for a full-on 5v5 with the threat of that Camille. They can't go for a 4v4 because, as you said, the rest of the lanes are pretty much even. It's just Evie is so problematic for this team. It's so mobile as well. You look at this, going for the 2v1 fearlessly, and here comes Dara to go for the support. The rest of the team as well, Ramune providing some covering fire here for both Yutori Moyasi as well as Evie.
Rampage really pushing in on this mid turret here. Again, they're just voting their time to try to get in on this base. Really exhaust Gigabyte Marines of their resources. Look at
that. Evie might fall down here, but he just still has the Guardian's Angel. And the push is still going strong for Rampage. And look at that. Tussle might be a little bit of a trouble. Gets trapped down. I think he might actually fall down. But look at all those shields. That Redemption as well will reset the fight. And that is going to be lots of burst coming from Noe to just take down Dara. But look at that. At the cost of their top lane inhibitor. Now it's going to be Archie under duress here. Being shot down by Yutori Moyasi. Evie just spinning around here. Look at all that mobility. Here comes Archie trying to go in for something. He does have the stun. The Ruthless Predator to take down Yutori Moyasi, but at what cost? Evie is able to still escape. Ramune finally falls, and I think this is an opportunity for Gigabyte Marines to actually continue and take back some parts of the map.
But then again, look at this. A heavy minion wave actually pushing toward their base. Good on Archie to actually manage to fend it off. But then again, regardless, even though we have seen them excel in that fight, they have 2 inhibitors. Wait, no.
One
inhibitor now. Okay, luckily
now,
one did respond.
One other fell down. So now what Rampage needs to do is just focus all their efforts on the other side of the map.
And that'll definitely limit Gigabyte Marines to the teeth as far as having to deal with the pressure not only of Rampage as a team, but then again with all the minion waves pushing in.
Definitely. It has to be something where Gigabyte Marines has to get even more good fights. This Ocean Drake could be a setup here because they have all their ultimates up, and this is an enclosed space where Rampage can easily get taken down if they position themselves wrong. Seems like Rampage has a little bit of restraint, however.
Man, if ever Rampage is able to secure this double ocean, then double cloud plus a double ocean really grants them a lot more dominance and maneuverability across this map here. And let's go ahead and check out what happened here, though. So, you know, very interesting fight that broke out. So, Tussle actually taking a huge bulk of damage, actually almost going out right there. But again, like you mentioned, the shields coming in from Rampage right here. Noe actually dealing a lot of the work here. Optimus actually leaning towards the bottom side, trying to find a better position where he could deal out the maximum damage. Plus the fact that the tricky part here is that you could expect Optimus to deal a full combo, but then again, he really had to look out for his mana bar at the same time, looking for the right moment. So Gigabyte Marines continuing the chase here, able to get a few targets in, not actually suffering casualty themselves if I'm not mistaken, so really good on them, although then again, they still have a lot of factors to deal with in order to get back into this game regardless.
Definitely. That is just a small victory out of many that they need to get back on this game. It's definitely so hard for Gigabyte Marines so far. And Rampage is just on point, except for that fight around the top lane. But the longer this game goes, the longer that Evie is able to just completely push down the rest of these lanes, the pressure from Rampage might be too much.
Regardless, I got handed to the Gigabyte Marines. Never say never.
Yeah, surviving for so long. Evie might actually be taken out here, but look at that hook shot mobility. Just completely unfazed by all of that, just gets back into the jungle of Gigabyte Marines.
Yeah, Gigabyte Marines just really boding their time, really trying to wait out the respawning of their inhibitor. That'll grant them a lot more flexibility. But again, like you mentioned, at the end of the day, there's still
look at the regen from Evie, however. Warmogs into Ocean Drake. So much regen out of combat. He was chopped down to 40% health. After relaxing for a while, already back to full. Look at that.
And this is just the Drakes really manifesting, very textbook as to just how much of an impact every dragon take is important. And it's really manifesting towards this late game here.
Seems like Evie just, actually every time I shouldn't get too ahead of myself every time someone gets onto Evie, because he can just hook shot his way out of there.
No problem at all. And at the same time, again, like you mentioned, that during the duration that Evie just kind of loses out, once he gets the disengage, just regenerates his health so rapidly, and looks like this will be the Baron take.
What a good
Rampage.
opportunity. After Evie distracts Levy there, it is going to be the Baron, might be the pickup, but I think they might have to cancel it. Might be too risky.
Indeed.
Yeah, because Levy and Archie are around the corner. You cannot underestimate the steal potential of a Lee Sin. Statistically, Lee Sin has the highest steals of Barons and Dragons across the globe.
Yeah, but regardless,
Evie
this
gets
Baron
an
was a good
inhibitor.
distraction.
Yeah, definitely good bait there for Rampage. If GAM did not respond to that, they would get a Baron. But since GAM did, that gives it an opportunity to take the inhibitor bot lane. Very well played. The rotations that are allowed by the Cloud Drake and just the general macro play of this LJL team definitely helped them out in trying to close out this game. And now, 2 inhibitors down. Mid lane is the only one remaining, and I think they can easily take this, even with the trap line that No Way's putting down. Just a good team fight from Rampage will help them out. Might even just, wow, Evie just still going for it fearlessly.
So much pressure, and this technically may lead towards the last stand, but looks like Rampage really want at this Baron to make it a little bit more cleaner for them.
Yeah, guess that's 2 inhibitors down for Gigabyte Marine, so this is definitely a huge pain for them to defend, which means that they cannot react to this Baron quickly enough to actually contest it. Levy's gonna try, but look at that Baron already at half health. I think Levy might actually reach just in time to try for a steal, however. But I think he just gets knocked away. Optimus tries to go for something. Baron gets secured by Rampage. Now it's going to be Levy and Optimus under duress. Shockwave almost hits Optimus, but he flashes out of it, and he pushes Tussle away. But this is Baron secured by Rampage. Levy is down. I think it's going to be Rampage closing in on that top lane to take that inhibitor once again.
Oh man, this is again going to be the last stand that we may be seeing from GPL's only hope and prayer. Gigabyte Marines really forced against the wall. Will this be the finish? Rampage starting conversion on this Nexus turret.
Oh man, every time a death sentence onto Ramune, that could change the game. He just cleanses out of it very cleanly. Saya goes for a huge play here, but there's so much damage coming from Rampage and not enough coming from Gigabyte Marines. And Evie, look at him just slashing through the rest of Gigabyte Marines. Juggled around by the explosive gas, still alive, and now the Nexus is exposed. Optimus, the only remaining member of Gigabyte Marines alive, and I think he's gonna get taken down here. Tussle, actually no, it's just gonna be the Nexus exploding, and
there you go.
LJL takes away Rift Rivals 2017 in this trio of regions.
Wow, absolutely amazing. Very well played. Ladies and gentlemen, what a series indeed.
Definitely. All these 3 teams battling it out. Of course, Gigabyte Marines putting in so much effort. But the winner of the game, Rampage, and the winner of the series, the LOL Japan League. The newcomers into the pro scene definitely pulling in a lot of weight with their organizations, with their Korean imports, with all of the effort and practice that every single player has put in. It's going to be Rampage and the rest of LJL taking away Rift Rivals 2017 for this part of the map, Asia.
Man, I gotta hand it very well played though. Again, we gotta give, regardless of GPL falling, we gotta hand it in terms of the positive points. Gigabyte Marines really carrying the weight for the region. Ultimately, you know, again, they're only human. They're not necessarily immortal, but regardless, they really brought it all the way to the finals. Again, they can only do so much.
Yeah.
Again, it's all about not just one team, but entire region coming together in order to win it. It's just that GPL was ultimately at that deficiency right now, wherein the rest of the teams that went with Gigabyte Marines weren't quite up to par to deal with the just the general strength of these other teams coming in from both the Oceania Pro League as well as the LOL Japan.
Of course, let's see. Because look at those happy faces from Rampage. They will be taking this momentum. The rest of LGL, actually, the 3 teams that went here to Rift Rivals will be bringing this momentum all the way back to their home region once their regular season continues. And all this time that the Rift Rivals teams have been practicing, whether you're on GPL or the Oceanic Pro League, this time has been a learning experience, because even though some teams, like in CLG, Afromu says that he's glad that CLG is not going to Rift Rivals, because this is time for CLG to practice, to relax, not really practice, but rather to relax. But this learning experience for every single team that went to Rift Rivals, from NA to EU to LCK, all the way down there to the Oceanic Pro League. This opportunity to face up against other teams from other regions definitely gives a lot of insight once you get into the international wildcard, and once you actually just go back to your regular season in your local scene. It's definitely a huge learning experience for these teams.
Not to mention the fact that, of course, you know, with our, unfortunately, there are the losers, but for the victors as well, this is a great momentum that they can build up. You know, really showing up in Rift Rivals kind of gives you that boost of confidence that all the more you know that you could perform even better transitioning into Worlds, which is a bigger stage, going up against some of the best, not just within these 3 regions, but across all the regions that encompass Rift Rivals and Worlds in general.
And even for the teams that lost, it's not that big of a loss. Like, it's not like Rift Rivals affects their standings in their home regions or in the international wildcard, but it is a huge learning experience. So in the end, even though they lost the games themselves, this is still a win for them in terms of their knowledge. Okay, now they've learned, okay, this is how the top teams of the Oceanic Pro League team play. This is how Japan plays. So all of that, they're bringing that knowledge to them. To their home regions. And once they head into the international stage, after being like top 1, top 2 in their region, they're going to have that momentum. They're going to have that experience with them. And I think that's a big factor.
Definitely, and you know, I could totally relate to that, because even I, as a former team owner, whenever I coordinate with my team, especially through the losses, there's always going to be along with the victories, there's going to be a hell load of defeats. But what's important is, through all those defeats, you kind of want to you don't want to beat yourself up about it. Like, at the end of the day, you just want to kind of learn from all those experiences, use it as a positive to try to build up on what weaknesses were kind of exploited and found during all these games, and build up and become a much better, stronger team during the next opportunity.
Definitely. So that has been Rift Rivals 2017 between these 3 regions, Oceania, Japan, and Southeast Asia. They've duked it out, and it seems Japan reigns supreme there, followed by Southeast Asia and Oceania. So all of that, congratulations to all of the teams that actually participated. It was a huge learning experience for everybody involved. Of course, we've been your shoutcasters for that last game. I'm Atlas. With me is Arctic. We'll be seeing you next time.
This is not a game, don't take me lightly. Brain cell from insane, bring the pain like nothing nice beat. The last thing you see when you falling asleep, shutting down the whole city, now you messing with me. Nobody, you want it, you got it, and good to get it. Baby, you brother, talking a nigga. Mess around and get 2 fists for Christmas. I don't play, do the deed and get away with no scrapes like I'm OJ. Ride, reckless. I'm about this money, putting checks on my checklist. Might jack your necklace, might smack your squad up. You may go hard, but we go harder. So if it's on, it's on. So if it's on, it's on. So if it's on, it's on. Might see me banging on my chest like I'm king. Okay, what the problem is? Mess around and try to rumble with the problem kids. King of the jungle, screw the talking and the politics. You wanted a leader, okay, now follow this. Run for help if you wanna. I'ma put it on your slugs, hitting like a freight train. Ready for your alien. Not of this earth, we are not the same. When my crowd to the side say hi to the king.